Books and Brews. We are on number 35 with Rachel Gary. I believe you're coming to us from Chicago, Illinois.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're in the car driving, despite what it looks like, right?
Oh, yes. I am on the beautiful roads in Chicago and relaxing on my. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, I normally try not to be disagreeable with my guests, but I have driven around Chicago way too often. I have been in traffic jams at 2 a.m. around Chicago. So,
Ooh,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
it's funny. I cracked the joke about the roads being nice and smooth when
Mhm.
I was ironic that I have an SUV that half my
Okay.
SUV was in a pothole one day. So I was like, wow.
Well, that was one of the benefits. We left northern Minnesota. We were up outside of Duluth about 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And I don't know what they were spending the money on, but it was not fixing potholes. And we had a few
Mm,
like that. Like, we're going to be lucky if we don't lose the car in one of those potholes.
yes.
So anyway, welcome to Books and Brews. It's nice to have you. And I would like to ask people watching to please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Help us grow. Help us keep bringing lots of great guests. And now we had some major technical difficulties getting on, during which I was very healthfully drinking water. Then I went out to sit with my husband on the porch. So now I'm drinking wine. And this is a funny story. You can see this beautiful wine glass. Do you know anything about these wine glasses?
I don't drink either, so that
Okay, I
that might lend to how why I don't know.
well, you can drink anything out of beautiful wine glass. Now, I found these, I think, at Goodwill years ago, and I don't know why I like them so much. I think because I liked winter in Minnesota. And so I found these just beautiful. And so every time I found them at yard sales or the thrift store, I would keep adding to the collection. And I was so happy with them. And one day, my husband accidentally, well, over several weeks, he accidentally broke two or three. So he went online to replace them for me. And he discovered my beautiful wine glasses are giveaways from Arby's years ago.
Arby's, wow.
Arby's. Yeah. Yeah. So now I feel like I'm drinking out of, I don't know, really cheap wine glasses, but I still like them. So I don't care. I love the winter scene. And I was going to pick on Books and Brews Light. I generally don't really pick a drink for the guest, but if I were to pick a drink for you, it would be Dom Perignon Petrie Plenitude Brut Rosé, because that sells for $5,305 a bottle. And that seems
Wow.
sort of appropriate. That seems appropriate for your book. So you actually have a few books, but one of them
Correct.
is Poverty to Six Figures. And why not a bottle of champagne for over $5,000 a bottle if you're going to make six figures, right?
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
I have to admit, if I were making six figures, I wouldn't spend it on a bottle of champagne, but it seemed like a good match for a book on how to be successful financially. So can you introduce yourself to our guests and introduce your books?
Okay, yes, I am Rachel L. Gary, and the reason why I put L in there because I want you guys to be able to find me everywhere. If you type in Rachel L. Gary anywhere, including Google, you're gonna see everything inspirational. I am a leadership coach, and as a leadership coach, I specifically speak to people about being the CEO of their life. And that's the person that is clear in your actions, empowered by your choices, and owns your direction. Um,
Excellent.
all my works are forged in fire, from ashes to empowerment. And the second book that is coming out on the 15th of June is hashtag poverty to six figures, and break the chain to gain. And that book it was the book I wrote first. So even though Forest and
Okay.
Fire came out first, the first book I actually wrote was hashtag poverty to six figures.
Okay. How did that happen?
So I was ready to help people grow.
Mhm.
After being in a leadership role for about 25 years, I realized that the biggest thing that I was talking to, the biggest challenges I was having with leadership teams was the fact that they really weren't in control of themselves. They weren't in control of their lives. They weren't in control of actions. They weren't in control of things that dealt with self. They weren't, their self-esteem was low. Their self-care was low. Them being disciplined was low. And those are things that as a leader, if you don't have those intact, it makes it very difficult to help other people grow.
Mhm.
So I wrote hashtag poverty to six figures to give people a guideline on how, no matter where your mindset is, because poverty is not a dollar amount. Poverty is a mindset. When you say to yourself, I'm broke, that's poverty. You're either between blessings or you're on your way to get. Those are different conversations. That mindset
Right.
is different. That means that you know that abundance is possible, and that abundance is possible for you. That's the biggest thing. Not that it's just possible, but that it's possible for you.
Okay, so it's
So
all in the mindset.
I teach 99.9% of everything that I discuss or talk about is about the mindset that is needed for your growth. And as I grow, I have a mentor myself. I tell people, if your coach doesn't have a coach, you have the wrong coach.
Okay.
And that really stems to that. If your coach isn't growing and developing, they're going to be stagnant. So the information that they have is going to be outdated because they
Mhm.
don't have anyone that they're talking with or pouring into, or more information that they're receiving, so they can be able to elevate themselves to ultimately elevate another individual.
Right. I've
So
talked to a lot of people who have written self-help books, and I've actually never heard that comment before. And I think that's a very interesting comment, that we always need to be moving forward. I did want to ask you, it sounds like you had a corporate job for
yeah, so
years.
yes, I've been in supply chain operations since whew, uh, since 2000, since 1999. So I've been in the supply chain in some faucet for that period of time. Since my
Okay.
children were very, very little.
Okay.
Go ahead, ask, please ask away.
Did you feel that you were in poverty at the time, or
I would
at
say
some
that
time?
I would say I felt that I had a poverty mindset, and
Hmm.
how I figured that out is because when money, no matter how much money I made, I spent all the money I had. So to me, that let me know that I was not, I wasn't financially stable. Now,
Hmm.
even though during the most of the through, I went from $7 to $25 really quickly,
Hmm.
and I'll say within 14 months, I was promoted 4 times,
Wow.
and that's the mindset shift that took place in my life.
What did you change in your mindset? What was the shift?
The shift was that I had my main goal was to be a person my children would be proud of. So when I talk to my mentees, I always remind them that you must have a why that is going to sustain through all of the challenges that are going to come your way, because
That's
every
excellent.
is going to come, something's going to come your way.
Hmm.
And but if whatever you're working towards for isn't big enough, you're gonna give up.
Hmm.
So for me, I wanted to be a person they were proud of, and that meant I gave myself a different, I'll say, a different set of rules, a different
Okay.
set of direction in which I was going. My number one thing was that I had to be a person of integrity. And to me, I want to say this: the I, not your I here, the I in integrity is you. Are
Hmm.
you a person who's believable? Are you a person who? So I wanted to be a person that you could trust my word. You could trust my actions. You could trust that when I told someone I was doing something, I was doing just that.
Did you feel before that you had not been a person of integrity?
No, I've always been a person who says I'm going to do something and do, but
Okay.
It's the point of integrity to the next level. So
Okay.
just it's not just being a person that does what they say they're going to do. It's being a person who moves in a way that is always harmonious with your goals and
Hmm.
harmonious with the person that you want to be. That's a different level of integrity. Because being a person who's being honest, that's an easy thing. Just don't lie. But
Right.
when it sounds hard, but it's everything that I ever talk about is easy. Simple, simple, but maybe not easy.
I
Like
think
what I said,
once you set your mind to a thing, it's easy. I was actually interviewing with somebody else yesterday, and we were talking about some hard decisions in life, and that was my answer. You don't decide, can I do it? You decide what is the right thing to do. And once you have that answer, following through may not be easy, but your answer is simple. This is the right thing to do. This is what I'm
yes,
going to
ma'am.
do. And now we figure out how to do what we already know is the right thing. And I think that's a lot of what you're saying.
Absolutely. Everything is about you taking ownership. That's why it's being the CEO. Because when you're clear, that's the first seed, the seed. And when you're clear in what you want, you empower yourself to do the things that you're clear on.
Mhm.
Then you're owning the process of in which you're going to get there. You don't allow you're not giving ownership of your circumstance, the situations around you, to anyone else. That's the government. That's your things that happened when you were a child. Your parents might that might not have been there for you. You stop giving. You stop saying those are the reasons why I am not growing. You stop.
Exactly.
Those are
That's
those. I mean,
vital.
they seem. We talk about it as in their excuses, and there's some of these are valid excuses. I quotate the word excuses. There, there are challenges that we can overcome. So when you think of what can you do about X, Y, or Z? If your parents were not around when you were a child, as an adult, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
So it's understanding that clearly I can't do anything about what my parents did when I was a child.
Hmm.
What I can do as an adult is make a determination on if I'm going to allow that to stop me from being the person I know that I want to be.
I want to throw in a little bit of a personal story here to really highlight how important this is. And I think this is such a vitally needed message today. I think we're living in a day where a lot of people want to blame everybody else. I went through a period in my life, not going to go into details, where there were a lot of kind of terrible things happening around me, other people doing things that were causing me major, major, major stress. Not surprisingly, sometimes I had meltdowns. I snapped at the kids. And one day my daughter said to me, I never know who I'm going to come home to. And she didn't say it that nicely. She was quite upset. And I thought, even today, I say, I had very good reason for being that stressed out. There really was a lot being dumped on me. And yet I said, you know what? It doesn't matter. Whatever they're doing, I need to change how I'm reacting to it. And so I'm loving hearing you say this. And I got online and I looked up, how am I going to deal with this so that I can be a better mother for my children, no matter what anybody is doing around me. I looked into gratitude lists. I looked into bucket lists. Maybe got back more to prayer. So I'm really happy to hear you giving this message.
No, absolutely. And what I heard from you was something that I remind people about a lot. You can there every situation you have two options. You can respond or you can react. Their response has a solution base. A reaction is usually your emotions took over.
Yep.
And when you respond with the thoughts of how can this situation be positive, it opens you up for a positive outcome. I say
Right.
everything that happens in life, it can be a negative. If that's what you're looking for, you're gonna find it. If
Yes.
you're looking for the positive, if you're looking for that, that's what you find. Every day,
Exactly.
I'm looking for the positive in every interaction that I have. That is a
Mhm.
mindset. And
Yep.
and as I said, I'm big on the mindset because the mindset allows you to have a skill set to have the outcomes that you're looking for. You can't build your
Yes.
skill set without having the right mindset, because you can have a skill set with the wrong mindset and your skill set does not get used properly for your better outcomes. I'm not, as I said, I start off everything that I talk about in my lessons or with any individual is all about reminding them of who you want to be. If you stay
Can I ask
focused
a
on,
question then?
yeah, yes, please.
So when your book, and I want to talk about your other book too, definitely Forged in Fire, but when your book called Poverty to Six Figures, if people are expecting to open this and read how to become a multimillionaire, are they going to find that it's really more about handling your money well rather than earning millions of dollars?
And actually, no. In this book,
Okay.
it gives you an action plan on how the mindset that is needed and how to follow through the book to your outcome of having multiple six figures. Every step in the it is 10 chapters, and at the end of every single chapter there is an action plan. There's a 3 to 4 step action plan that before you move to the next chapter it says complete, because you need to have a base to start on. So the book is about action. It was the reason that I wrote the second book, because this book is so full of action. It talks a little bit about my journey, but it isn't about my journey. It's about
Hmm.
the thoughts that were going through my mind, the things that needed to be aligned to allow me to be the person that I was looking to be at the time.
Hmm.
Because I'm gonna say this in a harsh way because I want it to be felt. We die to our former selves to be the better self. You
Yep.
must, because if you are holding on to the old you, the new you can't flourish.
Right. That's a great
So
way of saying it.
yeah. So for me, the forging reason of the forging fire was to tell the story of how the tragedies I went through in my life and how I got the mindset of knowing that I could do, be, and have anything I wanted out of life.
Yep.
So
And
it,
so many people need that. Now, one question that I have, and this, I think the fact that I ask it over and over of multiple guests, this is a very deeply rooted in my personal experience and families I see where, as you say, everybody's going to face difficulties. We're all going to face trials. We
yes,
decide, are we going to do better or are we going to use that as an excuse? And I'm always interested in the fact that you look, I think always, at families with multiple kids. They grew up in the same circumstance. One decides, I'm going to do better, and one decides, I'm going to use this as my excuse. What would you say is what makes the difference? Why are some people able to overcome and some people just wallow?
to me, and I appreciate the question. Great question, because it goes to something I speak about quite often. My sister, I'm the eldest of two siblings. I mean, of three siblings.
Mhm.
I have four siblings total, but I only am speaking. Sorry, it's four of us total. So, as the eldest, I took situations differently. And what I'll say is this: we all grew up in the same household, but each of us took a different approach to how we live our lives. And some of us, as just as you said, we think we're holding on because some of us are utilized. I used all of that for fuel to be the best version of myself, fuel to not be in the same situations as I was as a child, fuel to make sure I didn't make the exact same mistakes because that DNA is within me. So not allowing it goes to that old saying, nurture or nature. So
Right.
a lot of things we inherit. However, I can inherit the trait. What I do with that trait is different. So
Yeah.
I use, for instance, my wife and I were having a discussion about this the other night. So I felt that my mother didn't handle situations gracefully. I felt that she didn't handle a situation. She walked away from a situation as opposed to handled it. And for me, I said that I want to make sure I stand up for anything that I think is right or wrong, that I speak to that I don't allow things to just go on.
Fester.
Yes, absolutely. If I think that something is incorrect or correct, applaud something that I think is right, and have a conversation to remind that person of who they wanted to be when I think it's incorrect. And finding and making sure that I ask a lot of questions so I have a clear understanding of what I'm talking about. So that is what I got from the conversations with that went on with my mother. Now, my mother and I are not close at all. My grandmother was the person who raised me, and that is who I consider my mother. And she's passed away now, and I celebrate her every Mother's Day, every holiday. She is my mother, and for me, people say, is there a hatred? There's no hatred. I appreciate everything I went through because it made me the well-rounded person I am today, who can deal with situations a lot differently and who can also identify things that other people can't identify because of the life I've been through. So
I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, and that's how I took it. So for me, well, to answer your question, I think it's all about what you think, how you think, and where you're trying to be in life. If you're trying to live a peaceful life, which I live a very, 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 very peaceful life. People sometimes laugh at how peaceful I'm living my life. And the reason for my peace is that I don't allow people to disturb it. So that goes to that self-care portion of that's within my course, because I also offer a course. I'm a coach. So I have a coaching program. So self-care to me is having clear boundaries, not only with me, starting the clear boundaries with myself, so I can be clear on what I'm looking for in the future. Right. If I'm looking for peace in my life, I don't allow other people who are negative in my space often. Now, I say this for instance, I won't say I cut off the people. I just don't speak to them every day. I speak to them once a month. So as I told people, my sister, her and I are not speaking at this point. That's something on her, not on me. But my peace was everything. Yep. So for my peace, I will speak to my sister once a month. Love her. I love her deeply, but I love me more. Say that again. And love her deeply. I love me more.
That's so important. That's so important. You know, I kind of wrestled with that I did go no contact with some people. And I think I was the peacemaker, you know, things would be said or done. And I'd be like, okay, we all have our quirks. I have my quirks. I'll let it roll off my back. But it did finally get to a point where I said, I'm always making peace. Notice the big air quotes, if, you know, for anyone only listening. But I don't have peace. I don't have peace because it's all being dumped on me. And I finally said, you know, what good is it being a peacemaker if you are this stressed out and, you know, basically being verbally abused and run down and so
not appreciated,
because my life is peaceful now.
and you know, the biggest thing with that is that when you get that peace, you really ask yourself, what was I doing that whole time? You ask yourself that, because when you have that tranquility, you don't have headaches. You're not stressed. You're able to sleep peacefully. I'm going to tell you how good I rest. Let's say how good I rest. I can go to bed and within minutes. It doesn't matter. When I lay down, I go to sleep peacefully. I mean, with utmost tranquility every day. And to me, that's worth. I cracked a joke on. I was on a radio show, and I said I protect my peace with a shotgun. And the guy, he laughed, and he said, "Why?" I said, "I'm saying that's how serious I am about my peace." I said, because if you're not serious about you, how can you be serious about other individuals?
And how can other individuals take you seriously?
You seriously. Yes. Now, like for my kids will tell you, if you ask any of them, how do I love? In the overflow of me.
Hmm.
And to me, that was the most important, because when I started loving me, I started handling situations differently.
Yep.
Loving yourself does not mean that you don't love others. It just means that you understand how to love you, which means you can teach other people how to love you and how to love them.
And how to love themselves. And I think
Exactly.
this is really the put on your own oxygen mask first. And,
Yes.
I think that goes to what I sort of had to learn. How am I going to be a better mother for my kids, no matter what's going on around me? And that was kind of the answer. You have to not let these people do this to you. You have to draw boundaries. You have to stop caring what they think. You have to quit trying to be a peacemaker, because it really kind of takes both parties wanting there to
Yes.
be peace, for there to be interpersonal peace. And so I think that was kind of my answer. I'm going to put on my own oxygen mask first. And it's easy to think of that as being selfish, but not if it enables you to take better care of other people.
You know what?
So,
I'm gonna say something if you don't mind.
go ahead.
So what I heard, and I'm big on what I'm gonna say, and people might not agree. The word selfish. I wanna say something. Isn't the word self and selfish? So I'm just trying to figure out, me caring about me. How is it selfish? Me concerned about how my well-being is. How is that selfish? Me wanting to make sure that I have success. I couldn't teach you or teach another individual how to make six figures if I hadn't have done it. I couldn't
Hmm.
teach you how to get through all of the corporate jargon and how to get through situations where women are oppressed. I couldn't, and how I was able to move up in the rankings of companies where they were male dominated.
Hmm.
I can tell you how I was able to navigate those waters if I hadn't have done it. So why do I mean we apologize for caring about ourselves. I won't ever. I love
Right.
Rachel L. Gary, and because I love Rachel L. Gary so much, I'm going to make sure that Rachel L. Gary is taken care of so well that I'm taking care of everyone else that I want to take care of as well. The only way to
Well,
do
and
that, go ahead.
to me, that's the key. It's selfish if you are putting yourself first at the expense of everyone else, and just,
Right.
oh, I'm sorry, you're in the gutter, but I need to go get my oysters, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
versus I am going to take care of myself so that I can take care of other people. Where can people find you online?
You can find me everywhere at Rachel L. Gary. If you put that in your Google search, you will find everything about me. If you want to know specifically about anything that I'm doing, you can go to www.sayiampossible.com. That is one more time, www.sayiampossible.com.
No, I liked when I saw that, because it is I am, correct?
Yes, and the name of my academy is Say I'm Possible, because
Right.
the word impossible doesn't exist. The word impossible has a derivative of two words. I I'm impossible. So
Right.
if I'm possible, then possible can't exist. It's the mindset of who do you want to be? What are you looking to do? Where are you looking to be a year from now?
Hmm.
A week from now? A month from now? Do
Right.
you love where you are? If you love where you are, then I can't help you. I can't help you if
Right.
you love where you are. But if you are
Because you don't need
questioning,
help.
right, if you're questioning that I want more, I know I should have more, then I can help, because
That's
you're open.
fantastic.
You
Right.
have to be
Right.
open for growth.
Well, and I hope that a lot of people will hear this who need to hear it. Sometimes the people hearing it are already on that path. But like I said, there's so many people in this world who have never really been introduced to these concepts, who really don't know life doesn't have to be how it is right now. You're not
Absolutely.
caught in this world. You can be anything you want in America.
Absolutely.
And,
And if you, this is my statement. If you believe it, You can achieve it and you can receive it. Believe it, receive it, achieve it. You can do it, but you have to believe it. If you believe it, you can get help to achieve it. Once you achieve that portion, you'll receive what you're looking for. But if you don't believe it, it's hard to train. It's hard to shift someone's mind to believe in them.
Right. So I think, unfortunately, to an extent, most people are going to have to reach that point themselves. But I do hope that this program will reach people who will have the light bulb go on and go, you know what? I do want to make a change. I do want to live differently. So thank you for bringing that absolutely fantastic message. You're driving, so you don't have your hibiscus tea with you.
Oh no, I